Welcome back to the CI Chit Chat, everyone. I've missed you all. I feel like I haven't done one of these for a while.
It's been a hot minute for
Have we
sure.
had a couple different weeks?
Yeah, a couple weeks off.
But we've had a lot of other stuff going on. Hopefully, you guys have been able to attend a good chunk of that. Um, we had our TopSoil Summit last week here in Iowa. It was our sixth annual TopSoil Summit, which has been just amazing to see those really continue to grow and uh, become bigger and better every year. And by far was our best one yet, biggest one yet. It was amazing. More to come on that. Also for the CI Chit Chat 2 weeks ago, we didn't end up doing one because we did a webinar instead with John Carroll. John is a big farmer, but really a businessman that just happens to be farming in the U.S. and farming in Brazil. We definitely encourage you to look at our YouTube page where you can see that webinar and all the rest of the webinars that we record. But let's kick off this chit chat the way that we always do, and then Diana, my special guest here today, Diana and I will dig in, chat a little bit more on Topsoil Summit, and we got a bunch of questions coming in, and we want to answer your questions here as well. Like we always start. My name is Mitchell Hora. I'm the founder and CEO here at Continuum. Diana is my VP of marketing. Um, CI stands for carbon intensity. Carbon intensity is it's the buzzword for the current status, but it's really where I'm just super bullish that all sustainability initiatives are going more in this route, which is we need to be documenting our on-farm practices, running environmental outcome equations based on that. It's got to be verified, and that data is going to follow our ag products through the supply chain. Carbon intensity is nothing new. Been around, been a major deal for Department of Energy since the mid 90s when they developed the GREET model to measure carbon intensity. And carbon intensity is really big in the biofuel space or just in energy and fuels in general. Carbon intensity allows for a unit of measure to set a level playing field where we can compare ethanol versus petroleum gasoline, where we can look at petroleum jet fuel versus sustainable aviation fuel or otherwise. But it's the GREET model. That's the gold standard for measuring carbon intensity. And that's what we utilize here at Continuum Ag and help farmers to get their score. And your on-farm score plays a major role in the carbon footprint of these fuels. And on the farm, we need to be getting our scores. We need to be getting our scores verified because that score is going to be critical as we collaborate with our friends in the biofuel space, going after emerging markets, emerging tax credits, or other opportunities as they continue to emerge. There, a big update here. There was some new 45Z rules released since we last had a CI Chit Chat. So uh, it was about 10 days ago, right at the end of May, the IRS released a surprise release of some 45Z rules. The rules were strictly for the biofuel producers and the quick gist. So nothing to worry about on the farm side. But for the biofuel producers, they now have to register, fill out a bunch of paperwork, right? Because it's government stuff. They got to fill out a bunch of paperwork and get approved in order to be qualified for 45Z. They have to get this initial paperwork in by July 15th if they want to for sure be qualified before 45Z starts on January 1. The other thing that it laid out is it had an appendix in these rules of all of the different available feedstocks for these biofuels. And it went in depth into the variety of different ways that we can make ethanol utilizing corn stover, the corn kernel, and the starch itself. A variety of it kind of parsed it out a little bit. Talking all over the place, but in conclusion on that, we got some new 45Z rules recently. At least they're thinking about us. They're getting some rules out. It wasn't anything major, but they got some rules out. They're making some progress. The biofuel companies need to do some paperwork. Talk to your CPA firm if you haven't already. If you are involved in your biofuel company and you're listening to this, talk to your CPA firm, get some paperwork done. And they gave indications that, hey, corn-based ethanol and these transportation biofuels, they are going to be subject to 45Z. They also said if you want to be eligible for 45Z come January 1, you got to have your paperwork in by July 15. So what's great about that is they're still saying January 1, this thing's starting. We got to get some paperwork in because we need to know who's going to be looking at this and that corn-based ethanol is one of the eligible fuels that we're looking at. So didn't necessarily do anything for us on the farm. There's no action items for us, but hey, at least it's progress and they're moving forward and we need to be ready to rock and roll with it. And with that, uh, let's dig into some of our questions and all that here, Diana. Why don't I just turn it back over to you? Maybe do a quick kind of intro and stuff. You've been on the Chit Chat in the past, but maybe give a quick hello and we'll dig in with a little recap of the TopSoil Summit.
Yeah, sounds good. I'm Diana Rich. I lead the marketing team here at Continuum Ag. I live in Washington, Iowa, southeast Iowa. My husband's a farmer, and he also hauls manure and owns a grain elevator in a small town, Crawfordsville, Iowa. So, yeah, I've been with Continuum Ag since October, and have enjoyed kind of digging deep into the CI stuff and learning the ropes. So it's been
Making it
awesome.
happen.
The Topsoil Summit, yeah, was huge. My first time being there, but super great event. Awesome to meet some of the partners that Mitch has been talking about, that Continuum Ag is partnering with, and some of the farmers who are using our products and have been in the carbon space and no-till and yeah, it's just a super cool event. A3 Martin coming from Southwest Airlines. She was really fun to meet. So I wish we would have had some more time with her, but I'm sure we'll get her on a Topsoil webinar soon.
Yeah, we've got a variety of different webinars that we've got to get teed up. I sent an email to Easter yesterday. She came and joined us at the Topsoil Summit from Southwest Airlines. And maybe we'll start with that, right? We ended the day with talking about ethanol and beyond, right? So A. Martin from Southwest Airlines talking about how massive this sustainable aviation fuel play is going to be, and talking about how Southwest Airlines is putting in their own money and investing in this space to make this all happen. She had disclosed that they've got an investment in LanzaJet. And I just met with LanzaJet yesterday. I had a conversation with their people. It was awesome. One of their main gals is here in Iowa. And she's like, hey, we've got a pilot program going on right now down in Georgia. Yeah, there's probably nothing there. It's a small plant, but we're proving the concept. But we know that we definitely want to get to the Midwest and work with Midwest ethanol and work with low carbon farmers in the Midwest for our projects in the future. I'm like, that's freaking awesome. Let's do it. We got the low carbon farmers. Let's go. So anyway, so at the Topsoil Summit, I thought she did an amazing job of talking about how big of a deal this is with or without tax credits. Like they were very clear. They're doing this, and this market is absolutely massive. To put some numbers on that, we're talking a 30 billion gallon market by 2050. Today's ethanol utilized in the US is like 15 billion gallons. So we're talking about double the fuel opportunity. And already corn going to ethanol is about a third of the US corn crop. We're going to need more corn, more ethanol, but also other feedstocks as well, whether that be corn stover, like she talked a lot about, or Hefa, which is, for the most part, think of it as soybean derived fuels or other animal fats or other oil derived feedstocks. But anyway, so she talked a lot about that. And then we had Paul from Chevron, and already we're working on getting Chevron REG on a webinar here as well. He was talking about renewable diesel, biodiesel, the soybean side of things, saying, hey, yeah, if you're in soybeans, you definitely got to be looking at getting your CI score, getting it verified, because hey, we're here to play ball too. And then we had Tom from Siouxland Energy, who Continuum and Siouxland announced a partnership months ago, and where we're working with those guys to help to get their feedstock scored and get ready to go. And also we had Monty from the Iowa Renewable Fuels Association that really laid the groundwork, I thought, really well. He actually helped to kick off the day. laid the groundwork well as to how big the opportunity is here. And his main message was when biofuels are in high demand, our commodity crops are in high demand, and the value of those crops goes up, right? Simple supply and demand. If the demand for these crops is high, the supply is going to continue to go up because we're always getting better and better and better. But as long as we maintain or build that demand, we can account for the increased supply and keep good price for our products. That was a big piece of his message. He was saying, "Hey, you guys have been growing more and more and more corn all the time. Luckily, we've got this biofuel opportunity that's creating a market and enough of a market to increase the value of these commodities." And he was saying that's where SAF really is going to play a role long term. Sure, it could be tax credits that incentivize some of this to happen, but over the long haul, these things are not going away.
Yeah, that was awesome. Definitely gonna have to have some of them back on one of the topsoil webinars for sure. Then the farmer panel, speaking of the farmer panel and topsoil webinar, Kelly Garrett, who is on the farmer panel, is teed up to come on the topsoil webinar next Thursday, I think.
Mm.
So I'm gonna put that in the chat so if people are interested in signing up for that. But that's gonna be huge. But great array of farmers on the farmer panel to
Yeah,
talk carbon and soil health.
yeah, and the biofuel and beyond panel was talking about, hey, this is happening no matter what. The farmers really brought it down to reality, right? Of hey, we've already been figuring out a lot of these practices. We have low CI scores. Multiple of the farmers had already made some money in existing carbon markets and that kind of thing. And now they're saying, all right, we're ready for the next opportunity. And their takeaway and all this was be watching, be paying attention, at least get your scores now. And what was great, Kevin on the panel is like, when I think some of the final takeaway, the final question was, what should the farmers be doing? And where's your head at right now? And his take was like, nobody's more in this than Continuum Ag. Like, I'm just like, I'm gonna do what they tell me to do. And I'm like, well, I appreciate that, Kevin. But um we uh we are very much on top of this and obviously pushing as loud or louder than about anybody in this space, at least for the on-farm side of things. But I just see it as such a huge opportunity here to enable family farms to have a seat at the table, an opportunity for some of these massive dollars to be able to really get to our real communities and strengthen our farms and allow us to invest in technology and invest in building our resiliency. That all happens with soil health and that brings full circle as to why we're doing all this, right? Like we're farmers ourselves, as Diana, as you've mentioned, like farming feeds your family, farming feeds my family. Like that's how we do all this. And our mission here at Continuum Ag is to help 1 million farmers improve their profitability via improving their soil health. The best way to really see that enhanced profitability is, at least in the short term here, is with these tax credits and that dollar being able to again be invested back into long-term resiliency, which comes with improved soil health. So,
Yeah.
and those
Um,
farmers I thought really did a good job of like they're seeing it, right? Like they're doing these things, whether there's carbon credits or not, whether there's tax credits or not, they don't really care. But they're like, hey, if there is going to be some opportunity in this, we're going to be ready for it. And they were on it.
Yeah. And I think that's for sure the big thing. And I think something that we've been pushing on too is, you know, it's not necessarily a change in practice for a lot of these people. It's like you could be in the money for practices that you're already doing. All you have to do is find out your CI score, document your practices. I mean, just kind of put all your data together. I mean,
Yeah.
and if it's not going to be CI, it's going to be something. So that data is so important of, what's going onto your field. How many passes are you taking across all of those types of things. So
And that was the resounding message of the first panel of the day, which was our partners in all this,
yeah,
right? And literally they just continue to harp on get your data organized. This is going to be a ton of scrutiny in this program. We've got to get it verified. We've got to pass this data along to the biofuel companies who have to report information to the IRS. We got to get our data organized, get it put together now. And that's where we're just helping farmers to get it organized. Keep your data wherever your data is today, whether it's in John Deere Ops Center or Climate or the guys at Bushel were a partner in this event and came down and we're on this panel. They've got platforms. There's lots of different data platforms out there. That's great. Use your existing platform, but we need to get that integrated into topsoil so that it can pass through third-party verification. So what we're doing is we're just trying to get the funnel closed down so that the data can be submitted to the third-party verifiers. We're working with the eco engineers. They were at the event, did a great job of explaining they got to have consistent data. We're talking about huge volumes of data, millions of acres that are subject to these credits and that need to get through verification. We're going to be submitting our first tranche of verification before harvest. So if you want to be in with our program, you've got to have your data, at least all the boundaries and as much of the agronomic data as we can. Got to have all that in before harvest. And you've got to then opt in to get it verified. You own your data in our system. If you want to go through verification, you got to have that done by harvest. And then we add in the yield data by the end of the year, and we'll have verified CI scores by February 15th. We are cruising on this, and we really want farmers in now. We did announce at the TopSoil Summit, we're moving our pricing from $5 an acre to $7 an acre. We've got to keep accelerating, but also the value and the potential ROI here is just massive too. But we want farmers to get in and so that we can spread out the workload, spread the workload for you guys, spread the workload for us. It's going to be more expensive for everybody the longer we wait. So that's where we're making this change from 5 to 7 because it's getting more expensive. And now we know, all right, this verification is going to be expensive too. There's no additional fee to get verified. It's all included in that per acre charge. But the resounding message from that partners panel in the morning was get this data organized and it didn't do it now. This is gonna be a lot of work. And we keep adding people like crazy. We're hiring like crazy, building materials like crazy. We've got some brand new our new activities tool we're going to be releasing here any day. It's in our beta testing program right now. So we've got brand new features coming out from topsoil to really facilitate all this, just cranking full speed ahead. But yeah, that whole morning panel was like just very blatantly obvious of get your data put together. If you want to be in the game, that's what it's going to take. And obviously, we don't know all the rules. We don't know when we're going to get the rules. I keep hearing mixed messages all over the place. I'm not confident that we're going to get rules in calendar year 2024 at all. Maybe some preliminary rules, but I have zero faith that we're going to get the final rules in this calendar year. But whenever the rules do come out, looks still like it's going to be subject to biofuel produced on January 1. So whether we get the rules next week or whether we get the rules a year from now or later, we better be ready to rock and roll. And I don't know. I guess to me, I'm just trying to make it as simple of a decision as we can to get your data organized, get it through verification, and we're gonna go to the ends of the earth to make sure that we're creating value for our customers, whether it be in the CI thing or there's lots of other emerging opportunities to utilize this data too. Everyone and their dog is talking sustainability programs and carbon programs and all that. Like I'm the most bullish on CI and these low carbon biofuel programs because the financials could be the highest by a lot, but there's lots of opportunities out there.
Yeah, no, for sure. And like you said, the 2024 crop, like whether the rules are here or not, like that's going into the 2025 biofuels. So having that data ready is the only way you can ensure that you'll be ready to get paid. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so do you want
Um,
me to swing into some of the questions from?
yeah, no, let's do it. And we've got everything recorded too, right? On the Topsoil Summit. If people want to see
Yes.
more,
Yes, yeah, I was going to mention that. So we're working on probably going to get our Topsoil Summit recordings back this week from the video editor, and then we'll work on kind of releasing those out. But we do have everything recorded, and hopefully going to have like some kind of highlights reel also. But some really great content. Looking forward to going through that and picking some pieces out to share with everybody. But I mean, it's all good, but that would be a lot of time in front of the computer watching the recap. But
Yeah, maybe we'll parse it out over time and also clip up some of our favorite nuggets and stuff too.
yes,
But we got all recorded. If you were uh everyone all there was a couple hundred people at the deal, so you really missed out if you weren't there, but we recorded it for you.
be
So
good, something good to listen to for a road trip, probably.
for sure.
I'm sure your family would like to listen to it. So,
Yeah.
here's a question that came in. At what threshold of CIS does soil carbon sequestration reliably occur?
Yeah, so Neil's asking on the on CIS or CI score. He's asking about, how reliable is the scoring system. And Neil, I mean, Neil is a soil scientist. He's probably deeper into this than me on the actual sequestration side of things. I mean, so sequestration is going to be occurring just from regular when you have living roots out there, they're pumping liquid carbon down in the soil and sequestering carbon. But getting to a zero, meaning net zero, or getting a negative CI score would indicate that you're getting more carbon into the ground than what you are releasing with your agricultural practices. That'd be the gist of getting to a score below zero. So, I mean, I feel like the sequestration numbers that the GREET model gives us for cover crops or for our crops, I feel like it's actually probably quite conservative. And we're probably actually sequestering more than what we're giving credit for. And we actually do have a 1 meter deep research meter deep soil sampling research trial that we did with Colorado State and one of Dr. Keith Postian's PhD candidates. So we do have some data about this, and would love to continue to work with folks at Argonne to collaborate and get that on-farm data brought into their system so that we can tell as accurate of a message as possible. We are doing a lot of good with these practices, and we want to dial in the numbers to account for it.
Awesome. BJ asked, what if a commercial wind turbine or a commercial solar array, if I had one of those on my property,
Yeah.
um, does
Does that
that help
help
my
us?
CI score?
It doesn't directly tie in. If you're so your energy that you're utilizing on your own farm, that does factor in. At this point, it's strictly the amount of energy that's utilized. We've got to work through that with our third-party verifier to see how are they going to account for the carbon footprint of that energy. And so if you've got a wind turbine on your farm or solar panels on your farm, if that's a coming from a utilities company, that energy is probably not staying on your farm. They're shipping it off to the cities, so that turbine isn't going to directly impact your CI at all. If you have your own on-farm, solar panels or your own smaller windmill or something like that, there could be a way that is directly negating your impact on the grid, and that could lower your score. But we'll have to work through that with the verifier. And I see that's his BJ. Your next question: who audits the scores? We work with a third-party verifier called Eco Engineers. They're a very high reputation group and actually based right out of Des Moines. So we've chosen to work with them, and we'll be submitting our first tranche of fields to them for the preliminary verification before harvest of this year. So the IRS laid out in some of the 40B rules, they talked about the ISO standards that we're going to have to abide by and all this rigor that they're going to demand in this data. That's why we're pushing on this so much. Like the IRS set the bar for the data way up here, and we have got to get our data organized and get this stuff rock and rolling. Yeah. So Pierre, that independent verifier is Eco Engineers, same thing. So third party auditor, our independent verifier, Eco Engineers. We're the first ones working through this verification process with them. We'll have verified CI scores on February 15th, preliminary results before then, and submitting the first data before harvest of this year. We're just a couple months away and we are rocking and rolling.
Yeah, so here's another question related to data, and you answered it earlier, but more specifically, can we use my John Deere to feed our data in?
Absolutely. Yeah. So we've actually hired on a company called Leaf. And Leaf is the one that builds the integrations with these different platforms. It's called an API. So we'll be finally launching like the final version of that in the coming weeks. It's not fully built out now. There's not a button in John Deere Ops Center that says send my data to topsoil. There will be though at some point. I don't know exactly when, but it sounds like here yet this year that will be there at least for a good chunk of the data. But what I would encourage you to do is in our process, you go to topsoil.ag, you can create an account, run your score, or some of our sales folks or some of our agronomists can walk you through the program. And when you get enrolled in CI certification, so like I said, it's only $5 an acre until July 1. So I'd encourage get on this now. But for $5 an acre, we help you to get all this data organized and get it verified. If it's in John Deere Op Center, we don't need to go and duplicate all this data. We'll get it pulled over from that, whether it be we have to manually do it for this year, or like I said, we're building out this integration utilizing Leaf, and it'll all be automated so that you just farm and have your data being collected the way that you collect it. We'll help you to get it pulled together for the verification.
Awesome. 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 How low can a carbon intensity score go, and what's the lowest you've seen?
It can go really low. I mean, there's a lot of farmers that are in the negative teens, even around negative 20. My score last year was negative 4.1. Manure would be the next thing that I could add that would really help me to lower that score. The lowest, I mean, there's some where we've seen anomalies of like negative 60 and stuff like that. I don't know that I believe all those, but there's multiple folks that are in the negative 20s that I feel very confident that yeah, it's probably quite accurate. So negative 20s would be the answer. But
All right, we have a question from Stuart in the chat. Just new here this morning. Our farm in Davis County, Iowa, have been using no-till cover crops and swine manure applications for over 10 years, but not every field has been treated the same each year. What data will I need to get my CI score?
love that, Stuart. Welcome to the show. Yeah, go to topsoil.ag and you can go to topsoil.ag, start plugging in just your basic farm practice data and do like in your farm profile, just do your base program. Like do the program that's done on the majority of your farms. You can always go back and change it and run some of these other scenarios, but plug in your farm data, and then on the next page, it'll ask you to unlock your CI score. You don't have to pay the $500. You can use our code, and maybe Diana can put it in the chat for us. Our billion bushel challenge is still going on. We're right about 300 million bushels, going to pass that benchmark any day, but you can use the code BBC95 to get that score for $25 rather than paying the 500, and you'll see your CI score. Okay. So topsoil.ag, BBC95. Make sure you snag that. Then that'll show you what your score is. And on that page, you can toggle practices and see what would your score be in those other scenarios that you're talking. You can always go back and edit your farm profile. And once you unlock your score once, it's always unlocked, and you can play with the scores and see, or play with your practices and see what your scores would be. Ultimately, though, what you're going to end up needing to do in reality is we need to enroll in CI certification because every single field that you farm will have its own unique score. What I'm encouraging you to do today is on topsoil, you can fill out the farm profile. Just do the basics. Don't get a lot of details in it. Don't spend more than 7-10 minutes on it. Do the basic practices just so you got a good idea as to what your score is going to be today. Then you can get enrolled in the certification program where we will help you to get your score for each field. At the end of the year, each field can either be sold, the bushels coming off that field to be sold, and that field CI score will be attached. Or if you're blending those bushels together at your own grain site, the score will be updated on a weighted average that some of your fields from your practices, congratulations, you can have a super low CI score on some of your fields. Other fields that don't have as many of these conservation practices are going to have a higher score. But when you blend them together and the weighted average score is updated, you're going to be in an awesome spot generating low carbon bushels across your farm at scale and in a good position to help our friends in the biofuel space to capitalize on these tax credits. And don't know what that's going to mean for money in your pocket, but the tax credit is large enough that I think there's plenty of money to go around. So again, visit topsoil.ag, at least get your base score, and let us know if you would like an agronomist to walk through it with you. We'd be happy to do that and share more details.
Awesome.
I know there was a final push from our boy Alex before we wrap up here. We're continuing to ramp up here at Continuum Ag massively. Uh, we're still wanting to do 1 billion bushels this year. Like we're gonna get her done. We're at 300 million bushels now. A lot more to come in over the coming months. And one of the things that we're doing is rolling out part-time opportunities for farmers or maybe folks that are back on the family farm and want a little bit of some off-farm income for the summer. If you're interested in a little off-farm income and helping other farmers to get their scores, helping other farmers to navigate this space, we'd love to talk to you. You can go to our website and we've got a careers tab on there, and Diana put it in the chat for folks that want a little off-farm income and wanting to get deeper into this CI space and help other farmers. We've got a huge amount of farmer interest, and we want to just help as many people as we can to just understand and be educated about this opportunity. There's a lot of mixed information out there. There's a lot of folks that are saying, "Oh, this it's not going to work," or the government rules they're screwing us again. We don't even know all the rules yet. Like the opportunity here and what's laid out and the indications coming from the actual government, like that's what we got to be focused on. Like, don't listen to the people that are bashing this or the folks that are trying to sell you a bunch of inputs and stuff that don't want this to happen, or folks that are saying, this is a bunch of hooey. Like, think for yourself and look at what's actually coming out of DC and look at the indications coming from this administration and stuff. Like, they're pushing forward on this, and we need to be ready for it. And even if the goalposts move a little bit, there's going to be opportunities to create ROI. And again, we're going to keep fighting for farmers to make sure that you get your equitable share, whether it be in tax credits or be in other opportunities. Who knows? But it all takes data, and that's where we got to start. So
Awesome. Yeah. And if you work for Continuum Ag, you get to work with cool people like Mitch and
that's what's up.
I.
We're pretty fun.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us today on the CI Chit Chat. Every Tuesday, Mitchell's on. He'll have different guests. If there's people that you guys are interested in hearing from, make sure to send us a message, marketing@continuum.ag, and let us know who you want to hear from, and we can get them on with Mitch.
That's right.
All
A
right.
lot more webinars to come. We'll talk to everyone later.
Have a good day.
Thanks.